Hi, I'm Chris Black. I want to welcome you to the Shepherd Media podcast, where we help guide those who are looking to improve their media production and to take it to the next level. Maybe you're new to this world and want to make it a career, or maybe you're just trying to figure out how to use equipment you already have, or maybe you've been in this business for a while and you want to expand your knowledge. Either way, this is the place for you. And I want to welcome you today. We're going to talk about some things that I know a lot of you all are dealing with and working on in the PTZ space and projector space. But I want to just welcome you. It is a good day to be alive. I am very appreciative of the fact that I don't have to be here. I don't have to be a part of a community of great people with great minds trying to do great things and serve other people. And it doesn't matter if you're in a church or if you're in corporate America or school or whatever the case might be. More than likely, you're on the same side as me, and we're trying to serve other people. And the most interesting thing about that is how people sometimes forget that that being in the position that you're in, you may be high on the totem pole in terms of your department or area, but the real way that we make impact and make a difference is by helping and serving other people. So anyway, just want to be grateful for that. Just want to put out the fact that I'm just thankful for being in the position that I'm in, and hopefully you can get and garner something that will help you in your daily tasks, and that's what we want to do, and you know that. Today we want to talk about PTZ cameras, but specifically for a reason. I am old enough to come from a world where broadcast video and the standards of broadcast were very exacting, and people took it very serious. And I'm not saying that people don't take it serious now, but PTZ cameras have come to be kind of the crutch, and not because of the manufacturer. So let me be clear about that. There's only so much space you have to work with, and so putting down the sensors and the optics and everything that goes into a camera to make it what it's going to be takes quite a bit. But still at the top of the food chain are broadcast cameras with great lenses made by great companies such as Fujinon, Canon, so forth and so on. And that is still what we should be shooting for if you're going to be a person who's going to broadcast anything, church service, meetings, events. The quality of the image of the picture should be important enough to want to put it out there as best as you possibly can. And I know at that point saying that is subjective, but what I mean is that you should want to shoot for the higher echelon of video production, because it will also help manufacturers to want to give you the best possible product that they can put out. And so there's nothing wrong with low-end PTZ cameras. There's nothing wrong with cheap, consumer cameras or camcorders or whatever. Everything has its place, but I'm talking specifically to people who want to. When we say stream, it feels like it's okay that the quality is not there, but no, I'm talking to you, the technical person who wants to have the best looking image your money can possibly buy. And so therefore you have to not succumb to cheaper products. And that's just the best way I'm going to be able to say it. But the reason why I want to talk about the PTZ cameras is actually not for that. Sorry, I kind of got off on a thing, because what I'm noticing is that some quality images that people are putting out aren't that good, and people are starting to be okay with it, and I know that they are. And that's the weirdness of the world where I come from, or from the mere fact that everything you see out there is like about putting out this highest quality image that you can. And high quality image doesn't mean 4K resolution or 6K or 8K. That's not it. I mean, better optics, better sensors, images that have the right lighting, so your camera sensor isn't being pushed to the max, therefore creating grain and the image breaking up because it can't reproduce the image that well because of the color science of the particular PTZ camera. So there's a lot more to it than just adding more resolution. I mean, if you can remember the day, and some of you who are too young will not, but standard def video looked great, and you can't say that it didn't. And that's because they used the very best quality of products to bring you the best possible image. Yes, it looks terrible up against what we see today, but back in the day, yeah, standard def was more than fine in terms of what we looked at. So it's not just about whether it's more pixels to the situation. It's about whether or not, again, proper lighting, good sensors, good optics, all that goes into play in order to make a good image. All right. So what I really want to talk about is what, especially in the HOW space, people need a lot, and that's auto tracking on the PTZ camera to help those persons and or people or organizations where one guy is not just on video, but he's dealing with graphics and he's having to jump over and look at the audio board all at the same time. So whether this would be in some kind of conference that you have a person, walking or, doing something that needs to follow the talent that would take some of the pressure off of the controller or the person that's having to be the video person, and also may have to, perform other functionality. So auto tracking is something that some people are looking for, and I'm not saying everybody is, but it does help when you have novices at the helm and are trying to track with a PTZ camera and a PTZ joystick, and they're not good at it because they haven't been doing it for a long enough time to be very good and smooth. And in particular, and you've heard me talk about the PTZ Optics Move 4K. In particular, I do want to talk about that because it is a very, very good AI auto tracking camera. And there are others out there. There are others. But the Move 4K I found to be quite impressive in terms of how it's keeping up with the subject in the frame, and then as it deals with other, things or people walking in and out of the frame, but yet keeping up with the subject that is supposed to be locked in on. And I say this because this is different than autofocusing, which is still a big deal, obviously, with PTZ cameras, right? Because the camera's trying to figure out what's supposed to be an image, or what's supposed to be in frame, or what's supposed to be in focus. So think about this, because I've seen other cameras struggle with the same deal in terms of autofocus. So the PTZ camera is having to not only focus, but track and keep up and keep clear and a clean, crisp picture of that subject in the frame. And again, PTZ Optics does a really, really good job of doing it. Now, saying that, Canon and its CN series PTZ cameras is something to be noted, because with the Canon camera, what's interesting about Canon's cameras is they have this dual precision focusing mechanism in their cameras that allows for them to really lock in and make sure that that image is crisp, which in coming this year, they have, and it's a firmware update, they will have the auto tracking capability as well. And the reason why I bring that up is because not only do you have this dual this dual pixel autofocusing going on, which would help with keeping up with the subject matter and make sure that your images look really, really good. The reason why I bring this up is because of the 1-inch CMOS chip that's inside of these Canon cameras. The images are just beautiful. And I say this because this is now where you start to get into that broadcast type of imagery. Again, when you're using the camera for streaming and where you know that the image, for most people, they're looking at it on their phone or something like that. And obviously on your phone, no matter how it goes, you can see 720 or 1080 and it's just not a big deal. But really what makes an image pop is how it's lit. How it's lit, what else is going on around it, colors, all that type of stuff. So, but even in that, a lot of cameras can't make an image look good. I know people who are dealing with older cameras, but because of their lighting system, the camera's image looks really, really good because the sensor hasn't have to be pushed to its limits, even though it's an older sensor and it's not breaking up. Blacks look black, whites look white, colors look fine. Whereas some other people don't have that, or they have this strangeness in the way their organizational image looks, meaning fluorescent lights here, and some LED lights here, and some old conventional lights here, just will make that camera sensor just die. In terms of trying to produce the right kind of image. You have people that are blown out. You have people that are, you have the blacks looking grainy, or you have things looking grainy, or you see the breakup as the camera starts to push in on the image. You see that compression ratio when a camera sensor is really, really small, it will not reproduce the image very well. So I just want you to consider that when you're out, or when you're now thinking about certain cheaper PTZ cameras. Because again, you're thinking, oh, it does HD, oh, it has this feature, NDI, or whatever. But you better understand what that means, because when it already starts off with a small sensor, you're already up against whether or not this thing will be able to produce a good image. And when there's not a whole lot of good lighting, you can best believe you're going to be up against some problems in terms of your image. So that's just something I wanted to talk about and, express, reveal, if you would, because a lot of people don't think about whether or not they want to have auto tracking with their camera, and the person controlling is very jerky with the control stick, because they're new to it. They don't know how to do it well, and that's just how it is. So again, no knock at any volunteer for them trying, but auto tracking, if there's any manufacturers listening, auto tracking is becoming a big deal for a lot of situations, whether it's a person doing lecturing in a school, or some kind. Again, there's maybe some events where the presenter, right, is on stage, and you just need that tracking to happen, because I am a one-man band in terms of production, and I can, if the PTZ camera can do this, then I can make sure that the graphics are doing what they're supposed to do, or the sound is okay, and I don't have to worry about that individual stepping out of the frame. So and I know different people are working on it, and yes, for everybody that's thinking about it, that's a price point thing. Now, I ran across a very interesting PTZ camera that was of a low cost that had auto tracking, and I haven't had the experience of working with it yet. I watched a video on it. I'm not going to tell you about it because I don't want you to rush and look into it saying that I said it was something to look into. But they had it, and it was a cheap camera. And what that says is that the technology is getting to a point where they can implement it. But it also says that they may have cut corners, and I won't even say that. I won't say cut corners. It just means that some things didn't get put into this camera that would probably have been more beneficial, and that the product was made cheap, meaning maybe cheap connectors, especially on the inside on the motherboard, or again, cheap sensor. Another company that has a big sensor in its camera. Well, I'm sorry, I'm saying big sensor, but a 1-inch sensor in its camera is Bolin Technologies. So you've heard me talk about Bolin a lot because I like Bolin, but not just to say I like Bolin. I like Bolin because Bolin is one of the first that did the Dante AV inside of their PTZ cameras, and that's a big deal. You may not be there as a person who's in the video space or in PTZ camera space, or the future is going where you'll not just be IP, but you'll be using somebody's protocol to connect cameras, audio systems, other devices within the building or even outside of the building. Dante is an excellent protocol. And so there's a lot of advancing technologies coming that you may not be aware of. And one of the companies that's in front of all that is Bolin Technologies. And so, with their 4K cameras and with their Dante AV cameras, it's something to look into. But they have 1-inch CMOS sensors. And that's important because it just makes for a better image. And when you start talking about something that can hold up under low light, well, if the sensor is small, it's not going to hold up under low light. And if your organization, your church, your school, and you need something like that, you need to look into the bigger sensor PTZ camera manufacturers, or just period, those bigger sensor cameras, because they're going to hold up better in terms of the image that you need. Because when you start cranking that gain or that ISO, you're going to see how fast noise is introduced into the system. So I try to talk about auto tracking a lot, but obviously I talked a little bit more about the other stuff because I guess I'm concerned about people's image, because that's what the people say they're concerned with. They say they want a better image, and you won't get it by going after some of these cheaper products. They will make your video look bad. And I'm trying to be careful about it because a lot of companies sell just a quality camera. And it'll suit fine for a lot of situations. But if you're one that's trying to produce the best looking image for the ones who are looking at you online, then you have to consider more than just whether the camera can do HD. You have to consider what kind of sensors on the inside, and how do I output that? And I'm trying not to go down this road, because then we'll just start talking about whether you need, HDMI versus 3G SDI versus NDI versus Dante over AV. So, and that'll be a podcast for another day. But all I'm saying though is a lot of people are looking at auto tracking. One of the cameras you can look at that I'm talking about is the PTZ Move 4K that does really well with auto tracking. If that's something you need to add that thought process to your budget, because auto tracking does not come on every PTZ camera. So again, just consider your budget, your needs, and as I've said before, you may want something now. You may have a little bit of money to pull the trigger on it now, but it may make more sense to just wait before you pull that trigger, because you could just wait a minute, add a few more dollars to the bucket, and then get what you really want. So that's just something to think about. Again, if I got any manufacturers out there that haven't been thinking about auto tracking, I know a lot of people would appreciate more auto tracking options with the PTZ cameras. So anyway, that's that on that. And we're kind of going to jump over here into projectors here for a second. That is still our forte here at Shepherd Multimedia, projectors. And I come to find that and the sweet spot for most people is going to be about the 6,000 lumen projector. But here's what I'm bringing this up about. It's about the lighting in your space. Anybody's space. It's about the lighting in your space. Now, if you're a school, government building, the lighting is a certain way and you don't care. And more than likely, especially schools, government facilities, don't probably care as much about laser versus lamps as I would want them to. I'm not adverse against lamp-based projectors. They have their place, right? But if you can, I would tell you get a laser projector. Why? Main reason? Because the colors and the brightness are going to last throughout the life of that projector. And you will, at least this thing, you will not have to change out a lamp above. So if your projector is sitting up 20 feet, you don't have to bring in a lift. I mean, if the projector goes out, well, it's gone. You know, something happens, something weird, lightning strike, right? Some power issue. But not because the bulb is starting to dim and therefore the image is starting to look bad, which most of us know. We've all experienced it if we have projectors. But laser is going to be the better long-term solution. Here's the thing. If I put a 6,000 lumen laser projector next to a 6,000 lumen lamp projector, the laser projector is going to look better. It's going to look better. That's just how it is. Now it's based on the manufacturer and whether it's LCD versus DLP and all that type of stuff, but it's going to look better, and that's what you're going to think. So you might as well invest in the kind of product that makes you feel like you spent that money well. And to me, that's a laser. Now, I'm not a projector manufacturer, so, you know, there's no one product in my line that I could necessarily go, you know, that I'm dogging out any kind of lamp-based product line. What I'm telling you is, if you go to spend your money and you'd rather do this one time for 10 years, then it serves you well to spend the extra money and buy a laser-based projector. And when you consider that you're trying, a lot of people are having to punch through. They don't turn down the lights in the room. You're having to punch through the ambient lighting, whether it's sunlight outside or, you know, again, these fluorescent lights in the building. You know that's what you're doing. So when you turn on a projector, that image still looks dull. You feel like you didn't, you know, you spent your money, but you feel like you didn't spend enough to get what you want. And you won't really know until you get it in your space, until you really get it operating the way that you actually operate. Now, I have some people who, because their images were so bad with lower lumen projectors, that when they just got a little bit higher one, they were just happy. So I get it. You know, sometimes you don't need much. And here's the other beautiful part about that. You could offset by buying higher lumen lamp-based projectors, knowing that, hey, you know what? Yeah, it'll degrade over time, but man, I'll be rocking for a few years, looking awesome, because I was able to buy higher lumens, lower price. But the real thing is about whether or not you start at the right amount of lumens. And I've come to find that at most times, until you are about 6,000 lumens, depending on your situation, okay, depending on your situation. But 6,000 lumens is about where you want to start looking at projectors before you call anybody, before you talk to them. That's about where you want to start. I mean, if you're not at 6,000 lumens, especially in house of worship, I don't know what to say. And that's nothing bad, but usually anything less than that is going to look and feel. Mind you, why am I saying all this and why I'm talking about it in this manner? It's because in a world that we live in today with your phone and your TVs and display screens in your car, these images look bright. They look they're appealing. They pop. The colors pop. The blacks look good. That's why. So you take the time and you say, hey, I'm going to buy a new projector, and you go and buy one that's just, from a price standpoint, you buy one that fits your budget, but when you put it in, it doesn't feel like you made the right choice. Is everybody catching what I'm saying? Doesn't feel. Now, here's why I say it like that. Because when you take the time, have you ever bought something and had buyer's remorse? Of course you have. And you usually have buyer's remorse more with big ticket items than you do with, I don't know, a cheap shirt, some food. You bought the wrong thing at a restaurant, right? And that's because the weight of the responsibility of what you purchase comes crashing down on you, right? People depending on you to buy this thing, the right thing for you, right? 20,000 lumen projector is right for everybody. I promise you it is, but it's not necessarily right for your budget. But you'll never complain about a 20,000 lumen projector. I tell you, I promise you won't. But you've had that feeling that, man, I was, I done my research. I did this, that, and the other. I tried to weigh the balance of the budget versus what we were going to get. And, it just didn't come out right. Most people, PA system is like that. We'll deal with that PA system. We're going to have a whole deal just on PA systems. But most people feel like that on the PA system. They realize they made a mistake. They spent that money and thousands of dollars, and the PA still doesn't give them quite what they want. So, you got to come at it again. You got to find somebody else, because obviously the person who did it the first time wasn't the right kind of person because of what they put in. And, it's weird. I am on a tangent. So because something just came to me. It's weird because people will hire someone to put in a PA system. The PA system gets put in, and I know before it's signed off on, they had to listen to the PA before they said, okay, you can walk away. Now, granted, there are some crooks out there, and they can just, put it in, run away, not really walk you through, have you listen and show you everything. I get it. But a lot of times you okay that it was okay, and then all of a sudden it just stops being okay. And it wasn't okay when you said it was okay. It was you felt compelled to say okay because you didn't know what else to say. Oh, forgive me. Because it didn't go bad. Like it's something like, oh, it was great, but then it just went. And I've heard people say that too. It's like, nah, this is bad from the beginning. You can hear it. You can the speaker box didn't physically move. You can tell this was never gonna be good. But it was new and it was different from probably what you had, and so. But that's what I mean by what it feels like, right? And that's why I want you to think. So when we're talking about not just breaking down the technology, and we can do that. But it's when you go to make a purchase, spending your boss's money, your congregants' money, the government's money, whoever's money, and someone walks in and they're expecting to be wowed. Anytime somebody gets something new, they believe that they should be wowed. You do, people you buy for do. I mean, just, and if it's not wow, they expect to be like, oh, okay, yeah, well, good job. And sometimes we haven't heard a good job, have we? We've seen the eyes, we've seen the facial expression. They may not have said anything, but you felt the disappointment. And so that's why when I always talk about safety and counsel, okay? So get a professional in the space of the thing that you're trying to figure out. You can't ask Shade Tree Joe about something that he doesn't, about a field he doesn't work in, and about things that they can't keep up with. The world of AV technology is so vast and huge, and there are companies out there doing amazing things, far and above and beyond what most of us even consider at a general level. And that's why in a lot of cases I'm trying to keep up with most of it. And it's because if we can give it back to you, then it'll help you make a decision. Everybody's not going to have environmental projection. Everybody's not going to have an LED wall. Everybody's not going to have an L-acoustic line array system in their church with a Digico or Allen Heath D-Live, or with my favorite, the Yamaha Ravage. But you can have high quality products in your space doing what you need to do based on you putting a little bit more forethought into what your needs really are, and then adding time with your money so that you can get exactly what you want. And I guess that's all I'm really trying to say. But I promise you, experience has told me that starting at about 6,000 lumens on the projectors, whether it's lamp or laser, but I promise you, lasers would make you happier. They'd make me happier if you would purchase them. But lasers would make you happier. But whether it's a laser or a lamp base is really not the point. Because again, the way the numbers kind of work out, you could buy a higher lumen lamp-based projector, still get what you want, knowing that, 3 to 5 years, maybe sooner, depending on how often you use your projector, you may be changing out the bulb. But, right now, we have on sale 8500 lumen lamp-based projector. So, because it's a lamp-based projector. So there's opportunities out there for higher lumen projectors if you want them, and they'll serve you well based on how you use it. But if you're using your projectors a lot and you need that image to pop, again, you want laser. And I promise you, I can almost guarantee you have to start at about 6,000 lumens to break through your ambient light situation. So anyway, that's kind of more like an op-ed, right? That's my opinion. Somebody else could tell you otherwise, but I'm seeing it. I'm seeing what's happening out there in the space. And those of you who haven't taken the dive, but most of the people that I talk to, the projectors where they're at, lamp base was, 52, 5,500, and had them for a while, and they served the purpose. So I know that trying to cut through some of the additional or this lighting and all the situations that they're going on, 6,000 lumen is about where they need to be at. Plus, right? 8,000, 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 lumen projector. So that's what I'm seeing out there, is that, more and more people are needing auto tracking with their PTZ cameras. And if you're going to buy a new projector, if you're in that space right now, you need to be at least looking at 6,000 lumens in that projector, for that projector. And then, then you start to look at what is the chipset, whether it's LCD or DLP. And there's reasons for one or the other. So I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you on the next Shepherd Media podcast.